Chapter 34. The two horsemen, leading a third, larger horse behind them, appeared over the horizon from the north. Horace felt an overwhelming sense of relief as they drew closer, and he could make them out more clearly. There was little likelihood that any other two horsemen might be approaching, of course, but the whole time he had been alone, he had worried over the possibility that Will had arrived at Healer's clearing to find that Malcolm had been called away to another part of the fife, or was incapacitated in some way, or had simply refused to come. "I should have known better," he told himself as he began to walk out from the campsite to greet them. They saw him coming and lifted the horses from a slow trot to a canter. The horses, like their riders, looked travel-stained and weary, but Tug still had the energy to raise his head and send a nicker of greeting to Horace. It was as if he were reminding Kicker of his duties, as the big battle-horse looked up at the sound, recognized his master, and whinnied briefly. They slowed as they came level with him, and he held up his hand in greeting, engulfing the bird-like Healer's thin hand in his own as he gripped it. "It's good to see you," he said. "Thanks for coming, Malcolm." Malcolm reclaimed his hand, wincing slightly at the pressure of Horace's grip. "How could I refuse? Do you always try to crush your friend's hands with that massive paw of yours?" "Sorry. Just relief at seeing you, I suppose." Horace grinned. "How's Halt?" Will asked anxiously. It was the question that had been plaguing him the whole time that he had been away. Horace's easy manner was reassuring. Will knew he wouldn't be so cheerful if Halt had deteriorated further, but he needed to hear it said. "Well, as a matter of fact, I think he's improving," Horace told them. He saw Will's shoulders lift in relief, but he was puzzled by Malcolm's reaction. The Healer frowned slightly. "Improving?" he asked quickly. "In what way?" "Well, 2 days ago he was rambling and raving, had no idea where he was or what was happening. He thought it was some time 20 years ago, and he thought I was someone else as well." Malcolm nodded. "I see. And what makes you think he's getting better?" Horace made a vague gesture with his hands. "Well, yesterday he came out of it. He woke up and was totally aware of where he was, what was happening, and who I was." He grinned at Will. "He was annoyed at you for going to fetch a healer. Said you should have kept on after Tennyson had left him." Will snorted. "I'm sure that's just what he'd do if I were poisoned." Horace grinned. "I said as much the same thing to him. He whiffled and waffled a bit, but he admitted I was right. Then he complained about my cooking." "Sounds as if he's on the mend," Will agreed. They had reached the campsite, and Malcolm dismounted from Abelard. He wasn't a skilled rider, and he accomplished the feat by swinging one foot over the pommel and sliding down on the wrong side. Horace caught him as he stumbled, his stiff legs giving way under him. "Thanks," said the Healer. "I'd better take a look at him straight away. Has he been sleeping long?" Horace thought before he answered. "A couple of hours. He woke this morning, then went back to sleep. Then he woke again around noon. He's sleeping much more peacefully," he added. He wondered why there was a vague expression of concern on Malcolm's face. Maybe he was annoyed that he'd traveled so far and so fast only to find he wasn't needed after all. He dismissed the matter and turned to Will. "Why don't you take a break?" he said. "I'll look after the horses." But Will had been trained in a strict school. He always felt vaguely delinquent if he allowed someone else to look after his horse. "I'll do Tug," he said. "You can do the others." They led the horses a little way from the fireplace and gave them water from the bucket. Horace had refilled it only a short while ago. Then they unsaddled the horses and began to rub them down. Kicker seemed inordinately pleased to see his master. In fact, he had the easiest time of all 3 horses on the journey. Malcolm had looked at him in horror when he first saw him. "You expect me to ride on that?" he had asked. "He's the size of a house." Consequently, he had spent most of the journey on Abelard's back. The sturdy little horse barely noticed his weight. Malcolm was small and thin, to the point of being scrawny. "Anything happen while I was gone?" Will asked. "Aside from Halt improving." "Actually, yes," Horace told him. He looked quickly around to where Malcolm was crouched beside Halt, leaning over him and ministering to him. He decided that he was out of earshot, although why that mattered he wasn't totally sure. In a low voice, he quickly told Will about the watcher on the southern ridge. Will, experienced in such matters, didn't take the novice's mistake of looking toward the ridge. He kept his eyes down. "You're sure it's the Genevesian?" Horace hesitated. "No, I'm not sure. I think it's him. I'm sure it's someone. I found the spot where he was hiding." "And you say he left at nightfall?" Will continued. This was becoming more and more difficult to fathom. "That's right, and he came back this morning," Horace told him. Will pursed his lips, finished rubbing Tug down, and patted him absently on the neck several times. "Show me where," he said. Horace was no novice either. The tall warrior moved around to pick up a dry cloth, then faced toward Will, his back to the southern ridgeline. "Should be just over my right shoulder," he said, and Will, pretending to look at him as they talked, let his eyes scan past Horace's shoulder, probing the horizon. Horace, watching his face, saw his eyes stop moving and the skin tighten around them suddenly. "I see him," Will said. "Just his head and shoulders. Now he's ducked down. If he hadn't done that, I might not have spotted him." "He's getting cocky," Horace told him. "He's not trying too hard to hide himself, and he moves a lot as well." Will said. "What the devil is he up to? Why hasn't he just ridden away?" "I've been thinking about that," Horace said. "Maybe Tennyson has been delayed, and our friend here is making sure we don't follow him on too soon." "Delayed by what?" Will asked, and Horace shrugged. "Could be sick or injured. Maybe he's waiting for someone. I don't know. But he must be holed up somewhere close at hand, because his spy up there heads off at night, and then he's back here by daylight." "He's waiting to see what we'll do," Will said, as it became clear to him. "He knows Halt is poisoned. He heard him cry out when the bolt hit him, so he assumes he's going to die. He can't know who Malcolm is, or how skilled he is." Funny, he thought, how he simply assumed that Malcolm would be able to save Halt. Horace was nodding. "Well, that could be it. If they've had to stop, it only makes sense that he should keep tabs on us. He might as well assume that if Halt dies, we'll give up and head back home. And obviously, he has no way of knowing that Halt is getting better." "Don't be so quick for that assumption," Malcolm said from behind them. They turned to face him, and his expression was grave. "But he must be," Horace protested. "I could see it myself, and I'm certainly no healer. He was much better this morning and yesterday afternoon. Totally lucid." But Malcolm was shaking his head, and Horace stopped his protesting. "I'm not sure what the poison is yet, but if I'm right, those are the symptoms." "Of what?" Will asked. His mouth was a tight line. Malcolm looked at him apologetically. As a healer, he hated times like this, when all he had to offer was bad news. "It starts with delirium and fever. One moment he's in the present, and the next he's in the past. Then he's totally in the past and hallucinating. That's the second stage. That's when you said he mistook you for someone else. Then there's the final stage, clarity and awareness once again, and an apparent recovery." "An apparent recovery?" Will repeated. He didn't like the sound of that phrase. Malcolm shrugged. "I'm afraid so. He's a long way gone. I'm not sure how much time he might have left." "But you can treat him?" Horace asked. There is an antidote to this poison, isn't there? You said you know what it is." "I think I know what it is," Malcolm said, "and there is an antidote." "Then I don't see the problem," Horace said. Malcolm took a deep breath. "The poison looks like one of two possible types, both of the genus Ericonia," he said. "One is derived from the Ericonia plant. It grows blue flowers. The other comes from the white-flowered variety. The two cause virtually the same symptoms, the ones I've just described here." "Then," Will began, but Malcolm stopped him. "There are two antidotes. They're quite common. They're effective almost immediately, and I have the ingredients for both. But if I treat him for the white Ericonia, and he's been poisoned with the blue variety, it will almost certainly kill him,
and vice versa.
Horace and Will stood in stunned silence as Malcolm spoke. Then he continued,
That's why murdering swine like these Genevisians favor Araconia poison. Even if a healer can prepare an antidote, there's still an even chance that the victim will die.
And we don't know which one he's used? Will asked. Malcolm had known the question was coming, and now he had to present this young man he admired so much with a truly terrible dilemma.
If we don't treat him, he'll certainly die. If it comes down to it, I'll prepare both remedies and we'll flip a coin and decide which one to use.
Will straightened his slumped shoulders and looked Malcolm in the eye. No, he said. There'll be no coin tossing. If a decision has to be made, I'll make it. I won't have Halt's life decided by tossing a coin. I could never go back and tell Lady Pauline that's how we did it. I want it done by someone who loves him, and that's me. Malcolm nodded acknowledgment of the statement.
I hope I'd have your courage in such a moment, he said.
Once again, as he had done many months previously, he regarded the ranger before him and wondered at the strength and depth of character in one so young. Horace stepped closer to his friend and put a big hand on Will's shoulder. Malcolm saw the knuckles whiten with the pressure of his grip as he squeezed, letting Will know he was not alone. With a sad little smile, Will put his hand up and covered his friend's hand. They didn't need to speak in this moment. And that night, around midnight, after hours spent staring wordlessly into the dying coals of the fire, Will made his decision.